It's quite possible that none of them have had a valid sighting. No, it's not possible. It's impossible. It's not supported by peer-reviewed science. It's not critical thinking. It's not using logic and reason. How many Class A Bigfoot sightings are there? It's not an easy question to answer. It's kind of the same question, but stated in a different way as to how many Sasquatches are there. Now, I have personally spoken to about 40 people of about a dozen, which I've made videos of that are publicly available, that have had Class A sightings in the state of Maine with a population of 1.3 million, which I think extrapolates out, if you multiply that by the 330 million people population of the US, to about 10,000 sightings. I recently made the comment that there were thousands of sightings, and a certain skeptic kind of scoffed. Thousands? I don't think there's thousands. Oh, you're just making stuff up. You're creating a straw man argument. You're using a logical fallacy. This is not information I just pulled out of my butt. There was another skeptic that came in that prefaced his comment by saying, well, I didn't look at your video, but I find it amusing that you would say that there's thousands of sightings. I had a double PhD doing analysis. Apparently this guy did take the time to collect a bunch of eyewitness reports and had a mathematician do a statistical analysis of it. And the guy, of course, couldn't remember the exact number, but it was like 0.000006. I think the first number he gave me equated to 6 people out of 1 million. And then he gave me another number. He goes, well, I'm not sure if it's this number or this other number. The other number equated to 6 people per 100,000. Now, if you do the math for that, for the population of the United States, I find it amusing myself that when a skeptic comes in and they go, oh yeah, I find that amusing, your statement, but I didn't watch your video. My videos are like 10 minutes long. I don't understand this rationale about how you want to leave a comment, but you're not going to take the time to watch a 10-minute video. There was this other character that came in and said, well, you're constructing a straw man argument. I'm like, did you watch my video or did you just read the title? Because the title was, skeptics think bears are Bigfoot. It was obvious he hadn't watched the video. This is the thing that drives me bananas. I will provide peer-reviewed links to peer-reviewed studies establishing that, the majority of people are telling the truth the majority of the time. That dismantles this idea that they're all lying. I've provided links showing that most of the time, most people are not hallucinating. Most of the time, most people are not mentally compromised. They're not suffering under confirmation bias. They're not having their sighting at dark, in a rainstorm, during a volcanic explosion, during a solar eclipse, during a blizzard. Half of the time, according to the BFRO reports, which of course is not an exhaustive database, about half of the time the sightings are during the daylight. A good number of the sightings are by multiple eyewitnesses. The skeptics, man, they don't play fair. They'll turn around. They're very quick to turn around and accuse you. Oh, you're using logical fallacies. You have a confirmation bias. You're suffering under the Dunning-Kruger effect. They are totally blind to the fact that that's exactly what they're doing. Exactly what they're doing. They will make statements that are little more than their opinion. They won't back it up with peer-reviewed studies. They'll ignore the links that you provide showing that their position is untenable and unrealistic and not supported by the science. It's so frustrating. I'm so frustrated by it. I am, of course, suffering under a confirmation bias because I've seen 2 of these creatures, so I know they're real. So that's the position I'm coming from. I know they're real. I don't believe I'm suffering under the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't think that I'm constructing logical fallacy. I think I'm presenting accurate information that is supported by science. I've yet to have a skeptic come to me and provide me with any sort of data, showing that people are most of the time lying or compromised. It's interesting because you could turn around and go, oh, I just saw a moose. No one would question that. I saw a bear. No one would question that. I saw a Bigfoot. Oh, you're compromised. You must be hallucinating. Maybe you're lying. You got a confirmation bias. You're confused. You're hallucinating. You're sleep deprived. Stand on their head with a bunch of gobbledygook, big, wordage to try to explain away. They feel this need to have to come up with some explanation for what you saw other than what you saw. Like, you weren't compromised until you saw the Sasquatch. I keep making the comment that I'm not bumbling around in traffic. Like, my perception of reality is accurate. Yes, I understand we all have little deviations, but it's accurate. I'm not running out in traffic confused about where the traffic is or walking off the edge of cliffs. They believe everything else I would tell them. It's our weasel, it's our muskrat, it's our pine marten, it's our fisher. Oh yeah, oh that's cool, yep. It's our Sasquatch. No you didn't, you did not see one. How is it that I can perceive all these other creatures, but the minute that I perceive a Sasquatch, I'm delusional, mentally compromised, or lying? Why is that? I'll tell you why it is, because they have a confirmation bias that Sasquatch is not real, that they're blind to. All right, what do you guys think the ratio is? Do you think it's 1 in a million or 6 in a million? Do you think it's 1 person in a million sees a Sasquatch, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000? What do you think the ratio is? I'm also curious as to how many of you guys have personally had a Class A encounter. You can leave me the details if you want. You don't have to. You can just turn around and put down, I've seen one. I've had an encounter. I'd be curious to see how many people just watching this video. Now, granted, that's a skewed subset because you guys have an interest in it and you're sub to my channel, but I find this idea that nobody is having a valid sighting to be utterly ludicrous. Utterly ludicrous. And then to pretend that you can explain it away by a bunch of gobbledygook and wordage standing on your head. Oh, I don't think any of them. It's quite possible that none of them have had a valid sighting. No, it's not possible. It's impossible. It's not supported by peer-reviewed science. It's not critical thinking. It's not using logic and reason. If anybody's suffering under the Dunning-Kruger effect, if anybody is suffering from a confirmation bias or using logical fallacies to try to support their flawed position, it's the skeptics. Good Lord. Just once, I would like to have one of these skeptics come to me, make a statement, and then back it up with a link to a peer-reviewed study that supports their position. They don't do that. They want you to do that when you counter their argument. Well, where's your peer-reviewed studies? Where's your data? You do it and then they ignore it. That's another thing. I mean, these guys, they won't even watch your videos. They won't even listen to your position. The same guy that scoffed and said, well, I didn't watch your video, but I found it humorous that you said thousands. When he gave me his data and I figured the percentage out, if it was 6 out of 100,000, that means it's his own data. His other data was 6 in a million, which is ridiculous. Regardless of what your statistical analysis shows, it can always be trumped by real world data. My real world data shows that I personally, just myself, have come up with 40 eyewitnesses in the state of Maine. That's way more than 6 out of a million. It's closer to 6 out of 100,000. All right, guys, that's all I got. As always, I look forward to your comments. I look forward to what do you guys think the real ratio is. How many Sasquatches are there? How many Class A encounters are there? Is it 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, or 1 in a million? What do you guys think it is? And as always, I hope you guys are having a great day.